Welcome to our presentation about digital rights for a digitally literate citizen, with a focus on impacts and after effects of the COVID-19 pandemic crisis on digital rights. Our presentation is structured as follows. First, we define what is meant by digital rights. Then we will go into the situation around digital rights during COVID-19. Using selected country cases, we will show how countries protect or violate digital rights during the pandemic. After that, we briefly introduce some initiatives that strive to ensure digital rights. Finally, we provide a summary in the form of a lesson learned.
Okay, so let's come upon the definition of digital rights. Digital rights are those human rights and legal rights that allow individuals to access, use, create, and publish digital media or to access and use computers, other electronic devices, and telecommunication networks. The concept is particularly related to the protection and realization of existing rights, such as the right to privacy and rights such as freedom of expression. In the context of digital technologies, especially the internet, the laws of several countries recognize the right to internet access. Nextly, we have the digital rights in times of COVID-19 crisis. As cities around the world try to cope effectively with the COVID-19 crisis, they witness a wide variety of digital technology responses, mobile phones, social media, artificial intelligence, which played a substantial role in dealing with the COVID-19 spread. For example, mobility data from Dutch Telecom was being used to estimate the degree to which the German population was complying with the request to stay at home. Many of these kind of solutions were positive and healthy policymakers respond quickly and appropriately. Nextly, we have the ideal scenario in case of COVID-19 crisis, which sets upon a tripod. Number one, upholding fundamental rights while supporting local communities, meaning that any use of personal health data, geolocation data, or other personal forms of data must be limited, supervised, and temporary. Secondly, we have the human communication and transparency, which is a success factor to navigate these challenging times and to ensure public support. Thirdly, we have the data-driven prediction and citizen engagement techniques, which stress the value of effective preparation, and the ideal model focuses on a task force divided into different areas for making predictive analysis. The need for having the right data was also the key factor.
Now we continue with some examples of how different countries managed digital rights during the COVID-19 pandemic regarding the areas of health, citizen, and education. As a best practice example, we can take a closer look at Denmark's e-health portal. During the pandemic, it became necessary to access health service via digital solutions. In face of creating a digital divide, it became more important to focus on people who were less digital literate. The power of attorney function was implemented for the COVID-19 test result and the EU digital COVID certificate. And this feature allows citizens to delegate access to their health data to relatives. So it's important to acknowledge here that the success of this portal comes from a culture of trust, and therefore the main goal of this portal is to protect and secure citizens' data.
Our poor practice example in the area of health refers to the country India. During the pandemic, contact tracing, surveillance, and technological tools damaged an individual's right to privacy and data protection. In the context of massive health data breaches, a citizen's medical history was revealed online on authorities' websites. Another example for the infringement of digital rights was that Indian embassy officers shared a list of positive tested pilgrims in a WhatsApp group instead of sharing individual test results directly to the individual. This can be seen on the screenshot on the right side of the slide. Also, India's contact tracing app failed to disclose minimal data rights, and the communities were not involved in the understanding of the app's functions.
As a best practice example in the area of civil rights, we have Croatia and North Macedonia. So as we heard before, the spread of fake news plays a significant role regarding digital rights, especially during the pandemic. In Croatia, there is an initiative trying to counteract called Faktograf. While trying to fact-check, detect, and debunk fake news, they found numerous misinformation related to the pandemic, the coronavirus itself, and vaccination that was mostly spread via social media and popular chat applications like WhatsApp. In North Macedonia, the government has developed an app called Stop Corona, but even though this is a contact tracing app, it's in line with standards that are provided by the European Commission, since it's on a voluntary basis and deletes all collected data after 2 weeks at the latest. Now, as a poor practice example, we have to take a look at Serbia. During the pandemic, there were serious breaches of privacy and health data. Since the level of privacy culture in the Western Balkans is already low, personal data protection was almost completely disregarded by authorities during the pandemic. So there was a COVID-19 information system for processing and storing data regarding the spread of the coronavirus. For this system, the login credentials, including username and password, were available in plain text on a website of a health institution. And even though authorities reacted quickly, that webpage was live for 8 whole days, which is usually enough time to be indexed by Google and therefore searchable later.
Now we also come to poor practice regarding civil rights in Ghana. Around the world, individuals are adopting and adapting digital technologies to expand the boundaries of online civic space to demand change and claim rights, besides seeking protection against the growing trend of digital authoritarianism. Recent research in Ghana from 2020 to 2021 identified growing concern within civil society that states and corporations are using digital tools for authoritarian ends. The research in Ghana also found evidence of this worrying trend, identifying 115 digital closings of civic space. In regard to the pandemic, social, economic, and political life increasingly has begun to take place on digital platforms owned by private monopolies formed in China. The use of artificial intelligence algorithms has allowed the automation of the surveillance process, violating international human rights law in China.
As a best practice example, we picked the following Scandinavian countries. And this example shows how digital preparedness can not only allow but also simplify the transition to remote learning. First and foremost, the conditions for remote learning in the northern countries are rated among the best in the world. Already in 2018, even in disadvantaged schools, over 90% of students claimed to have access to a computer and a stable internet connection. In Sweden, 9 out of 10 upper secondary schools provided their students with their own tablet or laptop by 2018. In Norway, by 2019, almost 100% of students in upper secondary school had access to a laptop provided by the school. And in Finland, the government allocated 100 million euros for educational improvements regarding digital competencies from 2016 to 2020.
Our poor practice examples in the area of education refer to the countries Germany and Ukraine. Despite being a world-leading developer and producer of high-tech products, Germany was not well prepared for teaching in a digital world. Inconsistent interpretations of European data privacy laws generated a reluctance to use tools because of fear of legal repercussions. Also, concerns regarding data privacy arose because a learning management system was found to have significant data privacy concerns. In the case of the Ukraine, there are still challenges in guaranteeing equal access to education. For example, 19% of all students have no or limited access to a computer. Also, a stable internet connection is not given in rural areas.
There are a lot of globally acting initiatives regarding ensuring rights in the digital world. The following initiatives have been selected because they have been joined by countries from our before mentioned examples and by countries on different continents. The first example is the Digital Freedom Fund, with the aim to provide private companies or authorities processing more data than necessary and minimizing the risk of data leakage and other privacy breaches. Moving over to the second initiative, which is the Cities Coalition for Digital Rights. The aim is to promote and defend digital rights in the urban context, resolving common digital challenges, working towards legal, ethical, and operational frameworks to advance human rights in a digital world. If you want to visit more such initiatives from different organizations, we have mentioned a comprehensive list in the slide.
Now, to sum it up, we come to our conclusion. COVID-19 forms a more digital society. Therefore, it is a governmental task to promote digital literacy to build a sustainable society. Our poor practice examples highlighted several infringements regarding digital rights after freedoms during COVID. With regard to inequalities in access to internet and information communication technologies, there is a need for public policies to minimize technological disparities and divisions to create greater digital participation. Referring to technology provision without direction or instruction, governments should ensure that digital goods can be interpreted and used correctly by all users. Regarding the spread of fake news in times of COVID, countries should promote critical thinking competencies through, for example, the introduction of cross-border projects like the European project Media Literacy for All. With regard to the promotion of such skills, the role of education is indisputable. Therefore, governments should think about integrating digital citizenship education in curricula with topics such as internet safety or information literacy. Thanks for listening to our screencast. This is our literature.